Hey, what is up guys? Simo here, and today I'll be teaching you guys how to draw hands. This is going to be a very basic understanding of drawing hands, and I'm going to be breaking it down into a few parts and a few pieces. So first things first, drawing hands can be difficult for various reasons. One of the main tips that I will tell you guys to use is make sure you're utilizing the tool that you have right in front of you, which if you have it, it's your own hands, right? So practice drawing your own hands in different forms, and if you have, you're able to take photos of your own hand, and practice simplifying your own hand so it'll be easier and easier. I think that's another reason why I kind of like I never really had as much trouble drawing hands as a lot of other people have. My only thing with drawing hands is I can't simplify them. I draw them very detailed, and so you'll notice in some of my shorts, when I draw hands, I like kind of stop in the middle of it and then turn the video off and then stitch it back, because the hands, I need to like really pay attention to how I'm drawing hands because I can't draw them simply, right? So for me, drawing simple hands is really hard. Drawing detailed hands is relatively easier. So, because I can look at my own hand and draw it. So first things first is there needs to be an understanding of what a finger is. So think of a finger as just a long tube, right? Or yes, think of it as a long tube, right? So this is one of the main shapes of the finger. Now this one shape, obviously, it's good to have an understanding of this shape, but you want to break this shape down into 3 points, right? So as you can look at the fingers, right, they're broken down into 3 points, 1, 2, 3, right? Separate from this part of the hand, but 3 points. So now what you want to do is break this up, and then you go boom. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now they all vary in different sizes, right? Usually it goes, this is the same size as this, and this one is a little bit bigger than this one, right? So same size, and then we're gonna go back into drawing the actual joints, and then the joints would be placed right in the middle of here, right? And then they kind of push together to make something like this. Right, and so that would kind of be the basis of it, right? These is not like actually what the sizes are. Sometimes this is like kind of a longer finger. Sometimes you might want to squish it down a little bit so it kind of looks a little bit chunkier. But you want to kind of do these things, right? So your fingers are just made up of cylinders, and that's kind of the base point here, right? And now you do this 4 times, because the thumb is actually broken down into something completely different. So this was, the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky, right? They're relatively all the same. Some of them range, obviously they all range in sizes, so you want to kind of pay attention to the size difference between them. However, when we get into the thumb, as you can see, the thumb only has one main joint, and then the other joint that would normally be here is right here, and then this joint would be down here, right? That's how the muscles actually, or the fingers actually look. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I'll go over it digitally and show you guys exactly. So for the thumb, now you're the same process, right? But since the thumb is a little bit chunkier, now you just want to break this up into 2 points, which would be essentially break it down into 1 and 2, right? And this would be the index finger, and this would be the thumb, right? Or this would be just the regular digits, and then this would be the thumb. So now, flip over to the back page and focus on the actual meaty part of the hand, which is the palm. And I think for a lot of people, maybe the palm is the more difficult part. So we'll go over what shapes make up the palm, right? And the palm is kind of just one big portion like this, right? So it kind of goes like this. It goes down. And you can think of it in some aspects, you could think of it like this. You can think of it just as a square. But that's a little too simple. So this is a little kind of too simple. So you have to think about it as a different type of shape, which would go and this would be the representation of like what that shape is. So now you would grab the previous pictures, combine them into here, and that would be the placeholder for the hands, right? With that being said, there's also another understanding as well, is that the hand actually breaks where these knuckles are, right? And those knuckles are actually right below where the entrance to these digits come into, right? So this part of your finger is actually a lot longer, right, than these. And it kind of just goes down very, you know, smallest, a little bit bigger, the longest portion of your finger here. So, and that would kind of be right here. So this would be where your knuckles are, these parts. And then that would break down into 5 points. Well, 5 points. And then the thumb is right there. So now I'm going to switch over to digital, and I'll show you guys the anatomy of the hands using a picture, and we can go over it through there. Be back. Okay, so here we are, and I'm going to break down the same shapes that I showed you guys before and overlap them here. So let's start with the palm, because I feel like the palm is probably the hardest part for most people, like I mentioned before. So you want to break it down into this kind of hexagonal shape. However, because there's two parts of this, so you have this top portion and then you have this lower portion, but this lower portion includes the thumb, right? And so as you can see, it's broken up into, you know, two parts. And then if we add a new layer and break it down into, let's say, grab a different color. So there's a joint. No, that color is dog shit. Yeah. Alright, so as you can see, we grab a joint because there's a joint right here inside the palm. Then there's a joint right here. And so let's mark all the joints with purple. So as you can see, all the joints are marked with purple. And there is another joint, but I'm not going to put it. It's actually down here. It's right here, but there's no point in actually giving you that joint, because it probably would be good, but I don't feel like it. So bear with me. So I used red. Let's go with a green. Is this a good green? Yeah. No, that's gonna hurt some people's eyes. Blues, okay, yeah. Alright, that's fine. So now we're gonna go with connecting the everything. So as you can see, follow. And this is another good technique that I think a lot of people should use, and it's tracing your references. You know, you want to practice. will break them down, grab a reference, and break the form down where the joints should be, using, anatomy techniques. So again, this right here is really, really simple. This is the basics that I think everybody should learn how to do before they take on actually drawing hands. So for this technique, what you want to do is take a picture of your hand in different places and practice this. So practice tracing over your hand or your reference, whatever it is. I would say use your own hand. And then once you practice enough, you should be able to do these same techniques without, having to trace over a reference photo. And this technique pretty much works for anything. It's a good study. So, and again, drawing the hands and stuff like that is going to be a little bit more simple. So I'm not going to keep posting a whole bunch of videos on how to draw hands. This will probably be like 2 videos on how to actually draw hands. So as you can see, I've broken up the hands into the digits, which are the blue parts, the joints, which are the purples, and then the palm, which is the red outline. Now the red outline is something that I personally think a lot of people have trouble with. The fingers, I do think people have trouble with it, but I think that they have trouble for different reasons. I think a lot of people have troubles with the digits when it comes to how they're placed in perspective, which realistically is more of a perspective thing than it actually is a hand thing, right? So it's not that you don't understand anatomy of the hand, it's you don't understand the perspective of the hand in 3 dimensions. So that's going to be it for today. This is a more shorter video. I just wanted to break down kind of the formations of the hands for you guys and show you that this is like the basics of the basics. This is a good study to teach you how to draw hands, and then later on I'll show you guys how to do it in a more simple or more detailed way. I really like drawing hands. Drawing hands is probably one of my favorite things to do, but it's also very time consuming for me. So like either I draw, I give you guys content that I really enjoy, or I draw a whole bunch of hands, but I really like drawing hands. So hope you guys liked this video. If you did, drop a like if you found it useful. If you guys are going to be using this technique in the future to study, please let me know in the comments. If whatever videos you guys want, leave a suggestion down below. Have a good day. Thank you for watching.